Hello, Volvo. It's good to see you again. It's time to get the motor running. We're gonna start with some maintenance. First, we're gonna go through the fuel system. So I'm gonna shut this valve here in the off position. Oh, there's a little cockroach. There you go. So we've cut off the fuel. And we're gonna start by replacing the pre-fuel fuel filter. And then we're gonna replace the main fuel filter. So we replaced this just after we left Marathon about 7 months ago. But it was not the pre-maintenance type of replacement. It was let it go way too far, the engine's gunking up and not running anymore situation. So we're gonna avoid that in the future. Looks, what do you think? Pretty good to me. I don't see any gunk in it whatsoever. It's still fairly new, so I don't think we're gonna replace this. It looks pretty good. Well, we're having quite the time getting this fuel filter off. We've been trying a lot of things, WD-40. We had a filter wrench, this piece of rubber here, and it broke on us. A cruiser came by, Bruce, a veteran, said this happens all the time, I guess to him. So said to hammer a screwdriver through the center of it and try turning it. So we've got a screwdriver in there. I'm gonna hammer it a little further. It's a mess in here, but I broke the screwdriver. It did help us to turn it a little, but now the screwdriver's too long. So I need to maybe try to get it out if possible. Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the screwdriver out. All right, we're gonna keep working at it, but this is difficult.
How long has it been? So
this has been about, I've been working like 4 to 5 hours. I've smashed my hands up. You can see I have a screwdriver sticking through the filter. After using the belt and wrenching on it, you know, it's very hard to access it down there. That's probably common for most people on a sailboat. Some probably have a little better access than we do. But jammed the screwdriver through and was wrenching on it, had a hammer smacking on it, you know, multiple times. I got it about a half a turn and then it completely seized up. It disconnected the hoses and just took off the mount. So now I have the mount and I need to, hopefully I can get some better leverage here, and I need to get this stupid thing off. It's been a nightmare trying to get the filter off. I don't know if any of you guys have been through this yet or ever, but I was kind of running out of ideas, so just took the whole thing off, and then I'm gonna start from here. Our idea was to come in where we're gonna pull the boat out soon to do the bottom job, and we talked to Isaac. We did a little recon mission, figured out the prices, let him know we're interested in pulling our boat out soon, and showed him what we had, and he passed it to a mechanic, and the mechanic came back pretty quickly and he had it removed. So here's the filter. See, the filter here is all beat up. We were pretty sure it was cross-threaded because it was so insane, but looking at the threads, it actually looks pretty good here down here. So I don't know if you can see that, but the threads don't look cross-threaded at all. I'm just gonna put some oil around the outside of this. I'm gonna put a little bit of the marine grease on the threads here. Hopefully make it easier to get off, and the oil is so that this gasket doesn't bunch up when you put it on and you get fuel leak. So I'm gonna put it all on here, put it together, and then I'm gonna prime it. I'm gonna leave the hose off and just put a funnel in and dump some diesel and prime it that way while it's already attached. Okay, we've now got the impeller off. I was just checking the impeller to make sure it's looking good. It's got all the blades. So I'm gonna just put some lube on it. Comes with an impeller. I had some extra, so I'm just gonna lube up each of the sides. And the gasket, of course, ripped apart when I pulled it off. So I'm going to sand this down. And I have here a new gasket. Okay, I've checked the raw water strainer, opened up the sea caulk, and we're going to start it up and let the oil get hot so it's more of a liquid. And then we're going to drain the oil out, change the oil and the oil filter. Just making sure we got water flow here. The color of this oil is much lighter than what we pulled out, so I mean, it's like, it's, you know, transparent, syrupy looking, and the stuff we pulled out was just black. So when we were cleaning up and reorganizing the boat, we found 2 radiator caps down in a deep crevice. I had forgotten we had them. They actually came with the boat. So this one's brand new. This one's new-ish. Here is the old one that was on, which honestly I think it's still functional if you look at the spring and the inside, but I'm going to go ahead and replace it and put a new one on. I'm playing around on the boat alone. Michael went to ladies' lunch and we're actually going to join her soon. It should be pretty cool. After the ladies have their lunch, then the men are allowed to show up later. And I've actually never seen this place, but heard a lot about it. It's up on the hill, so be excited to go check that out. Right now I've been tracing down our bilge pump issue, because when we returned, we have 2 bilge pumps, and our automatic bilge pump that's wired to the float was not working when I got back. So we have our multimeter here, and I'm testing the resistance right now, and I have it hooked up to the float, so I've cut the connections. I have this wires going here, and each of these wires coming out of our float switch here is wired up right here to our multimeter. And when I do, so basically what I do to test it is just lift up on this, and I should see a shortage right here. But if you look, I lift it up and I get nothing. So honestly, I'm kind of new, obviously, to everything, but I'm new to the multimeters, and it seems pretty simple. But I luckily have another float switch on board here. Same kind of float switch. It looks a little old, so I mean, it might be time to get a new one. But I'll show you what happens when I connect this float switch up the exact same way, and when I lift it up, check out what happens on the multimeter. Okay, I've got these wires here connected to our extra float switch that was on the boat. It's the same settings under multimeter here, and if I lift up on the float here, when I let down, lift back up, so I don't know. I mean, it appears that float switch is not doing anything. So hopefully the bilge pump is fine. I checked the fuse, it wasn't blown, so I think our float switch just went out. Which was crazy. There wasn't much water in the bilge when we got here, hardly any at all. So I don't know if it was just got really hot and just from sitting for a long time inactive or what, but I'm gonna wire up this float switch and then see if we get anything different with our bilge pump. I've got the new float down, and I've just temporarily wired everything down just to test it out. And I have the fuse out, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the fuse back in and show you what we got. So the bilge is running all by itself, and it gets stronger when you lift it up. Now it shuts off. Now watch when I lift it up. Weird. Huh. It's kind of doing a lot of weird things. Last time I connected it, lifted the float switch, and then when I let it down, the bilge kept running all by itself. Okay, I've added some water, just a little bit, but enough to cover. Probably not the smoothest way to test things. We're gonna get some extra bilge pumps, another float pump, but it looks like the float just went out, and when I first did my test, I didn't have any water in here because I pumped it out manually, and I'm thinking the bilge needs water to pump out, and so I tried first testing it with no water, and when I let the floats down, it kept running. I'm gonna go ahead and wire everything up, watertight, and hook it back up. I think it's working now. I think we just had a bad float switch.
You good?
Yep.
This is the house that Margie and her husband built. After cruising for 25 years, they decided to settle here in Luperon. They bought the land with nothing on it and built their dream home here on Gringo Hill, with views of Luperon Harbor and the ocean out in the distance.
We got to meet cruisers and retired cruisers alike, get valuable intel, and hear awesome stories.
We found another leak. Looks like it wasn't the seams on the inside that was the problem. We actually had a spot underneath under the water line, so it's back here. Actually, we brought the dinghy out of the water and used a spray bottle and some soap to locate some areas that were leaking that we hadn't realized, and this one we heard. So we didn't even have to find it with the soap in the water. It was pretty obvious this is a bad spot. And we ran out of patching material, but there's extra on the bottom. Actually, they used to hold the slats and the semi-hard bottom, so I cut a piece of that. I cleaned it really well, and I'm gonna put it on here, give the contact cement another go.
What are you cleaning it with?
Alcohol, mostly.
And why do we think the other patch didn't hold?
We did not clean it with alcohol. So what we found with the seams is we glued them once, they didn't stay, scraped all the glue out, cleaned it with alcohol, and now they seem to be stained. So really, really important to get both surfaces nice and clean, or else that contact cement isn't gonna bond.
Michael's cutting, because this is what was holding our slats in, which we lost on the way to Cuba. They all snapped in half, and we have an alternative method for a hard bottom that we use, so we really don't need this. So Michael is cutting this apart and using it to patch up some areas. So pretty resourceful. Okay, I'm pretty hopeful that we figured out what's going on with the bilge pump. I took off this fitting here, and it's supposed to only allow water to go one way, and which would be out, up and out of the boat, and it should seal and not allow water to go back down. But when you look through, you can definitely see there's a gap. So this seal here, it's not sealing up. So I believe that the water's going up and out of the boat, and then when the float switch deactivates, water's trickling back down into the bilge, and it's keeping it running. It's not allowing it just to shut off, because I don't know exactly what. I just know that this is supposed to seal and not allow water back down. So I believe this could be the issue, because the wiring, the float switch we tested, the bilge pump is working well. So this could definitely cause it to continue running at a smaller RPM when the float switch deactivates. So we're gonna go in town, go look around, and hopefully find one of these. If not, we'll have to order one, or maybe ask a boater on the net.
Pretty disappointing. We worked really hard to patch the dinghy, and it's way worse than it was before. So we're not really sure what happened. But on another note, we did a lot of work to the website this week, so feel free to go check that out, bumsonourboat.com. We've got a budget up there as well that is showing all of our expense tracking, where our money's going, what projects we're up to at the moment, as well as all the food, mostly all the food that we're buying.
So after all Michael's patch jobs, patch, show him the other patch job. Patched right here. And now the dinghy's worse than it was. So we came up this morning and it was totally flat. So I mean, it's losing air quicker than it was before all the patching. So it's very interesting. So this week, I don't know. I mean, we were pretty hard at work. I mean, we got the engine running. So now we're ready, you know, we feel confident to move the boat, pull it out of the water, which we plan to do soon, hopefully next week. But the website is awesome, and we have shirts now. We have available, you can go on the website, and our first design is up, and you can order shirts off our website. So that's cool.
So check it out.
Big thank you to our patrons and donors. Shout out to Chad Sieber and Suzanne Schuster, Michael's mother, for helping us troubleshoot the online store, working the kinks out, and also being our very first customers. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks to you guys, we are able to continue creating content, and we strive to increase the quality and consistency of our blogs and videos.
These are the tales of Boab.